we're live. Hey everybody, welcome to our live show today. We're going to be talking about Daughter of Smoke and Bone.
Oh, that edition.
Oh wait, hold on. I can hear myself. I've got the live show going on the other tab.
Oh no.
Okay, yes, welcome everybody. I hope you guys are excited to talk about Daughter of Smoke and Bone with us. We're doing a read-along for this entire series, if you did not know. So feel free to continue joining us for the rest of the books in this series. But today, we're reading Book 1, Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. And I feel like we should all introduce ourselves. So if you're not familiar with anyone, you know who they are. But welcome, you're on my channel. I'm Kaz from Little Book Owl. And I guess we could also rate the books as well. I don't know what I rated the book, actually. Maybe between a 3.5 and a 4. We'll see by the end of this discussion, I guess. But Chloe, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Chloe from the channel Books with Chloe. And I also, I think I gave it 4 originally, but possibly 3.5. I did really love it. But yeah, there were a few things that we'll obviously talk about, but yeah, so I really did love it, and I think 4.
Yeah. Cassie.
I'm Cassie. My channel is Miss Sassy Cassie, and this was a reread for me, and I am just stuck on a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love this series. I think the first time that I read it, this book was a 4, and then the rest of the series got better and better, but a reread, it was very emotionally full of love. So I gave it a 5 this time around.
Nice.
Awesome. And Red?
I'm Red from Little Red Reader, and I rated this book 3.5 stars out of 5. I definitely would say overall I have very mixed feelings about it. Very mixed feelings. But I still gave it 3.5 stars, which isn't too bad, I don't think.
Yeah. I feel like across the board, I've heard a lot of, like, obviously rave reviews about the first book in particular, but then a lot of mixed ones as well. Because I feel like a lot of people are like, ooh, the start, love. And then halfway through,
yeah,
like, ooh, it got very different and I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah.
But Cassie, you're just like, I love it all.
Like I feel like the parts I really, really liked, but then the parts that I have problem with, I'm like, I don't know if I can 100% excuse it.
I'm just smiling.
He's the one that knows. So.
Yeah, these live shows are going to be hard for me because I have read the whole series, including the novella. So like, I know more, and so there's a lot. Wow, how many times did I try to start a sentence just there? Laini Taylor has that style of writing where she starts a story, but by the end of the full and complete story, it is not the same thing that you started with. And so,
yeah,
if anybody has read Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares, that you recognize that in those. So like, it's going to be hard for me to have a lot to say because I don't want to spoil anything. But I just really love this series. And for me, a lot of people have the issue where like they love the first part and then it gets really different at about halfway through, or maybe 2/3 of the way through. But that is where I was like, oh, here we are. This is my type of story. I'm ready. So once we get into that change, that's where I really started loving the book the first time around.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting indeed. We've got quite a few people also saying like 5, 4, 3.5. So it seems overall there's a lot of people in the same boat. I wonder if anyone like really detested the book.
I know, just from Twitter and just what I've seen like other people participating in the room have mentioned, I think it's really interesting that some of the parts that I had problems with are not necessarily the same parts that other people didn't like, which I find really, really interesting.
Yeah.
That like it seems like some of us like just either like certain parts or dislike certain parts for different reasons, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So should we like talk about how like our feelings like throughout, like, you know, from the beginning to the end?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I first started this, I was like obsessed, and I was like, okay, this is definitely going to be a 5 out of 5 stars because I love Laini Taylor's writing. I loved the characters. Like I really love Karoo. I love Susanna. Is that how you say it? And yeah, and I just loved the world, and like it was just amazing. And then obviously it does take a different turn, and I definitely didn't hate it. Like I do still like the way where it went, but you know, that like 100-page section where it's like, you know, the flashback, that was too long for me, and I was like, okay, can we get back to, you know what I mean? Like even though it's technically Karoo, which we'll obviously talk about, but it's just like, I don't know, that was really like not that fun for me. So it definitely went down like at that point.
Yeah.
Also, like the romance, which we'll talk about, I have mixed feelings towards that as well. But yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree. The first part of it, I was like, I'm so ready for this. I love the setting. Having it in Prague is really cool. And then learning about kind of like the underworld with the chimera and stuff like that was so cool. And then we do have that flashback. And at the start, I was really intrigued. I really liked learning more about it. But then I feel like it did go on for longer, and I was just waiting for it to finish.
It went for so long.
I know. It did go for so long. And like I enjoyed learning more about the world and more about the characters, but I was like, okay, it just went for too long, I think. And I just wanted it to hurry up.
Yeah. And I think I was also confused at times reading that bit. So I didn't fully understand what was going on.
Yeah. And then in terms of the romance, I don't like the romance. I have a few things to say, and we'll dive into spoiler territory and get more in detail in just a bit. But I was not a fan of the romance. I do not like the romantic interest. I thought he was kind of creepy, and definitely like insta love.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll get more into that.
This was my first time reading it, or do we still want to just keep going down the order? I don't know.
You can go ahead, Red. Go ahead.
Okay. So talking generally, I have thoughts. So I'm definitely on board with you guys. Like going into it, I feel like it captures you really quickly. It's so easy to sort of fall in love with this kind of like magic of it. On the surface, I'm not getting into spoilers because I think discussing things in the very, very beginning is not really spoilery. There are certain elements that I like I really appreciated that she has an ex-boyfriend, for example, which I feel like doesn't come up in YA too often. They like straight up address sex and stuff like right away as a normal part.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. And I kind of like, and that's like a really minor thing in like the grand scheme of the entire book. But it was one of those things where I'm like, all right, this is a writer that gets it, you know? And I loved like Brimstone, and I loved the whole Chimera world. And I thought that the world building in this was so intriguing. And that's part of what I loved. I loved Karoo and I loved Susanna. Honestly, and the first half of it was a reread for me because I had DNF'd this book before, primarily because of Akiva and the romance. I am not a fan of Akiva. If we could just get rid of this whole YA male watching their girls sleep thing, that would be great. Oh, oh my gosh. So that
she watches him sleep too. I'm just saying, she watches him sleep too. I'm just saying.
But like, isn't it wild? He's just like next to her, and he's actually watching her through a window from outside.
He does it first, but then later in the book, when the thing has happened, it's like right before the big change and the time jump. Right before that, he is he kind of like passes out, kind of. And
yes, that's right. Yes, I remember. Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that
sleep that. No, like I think Akiva's been like the biggest problem with this book, and their romance was very insta-love in my opinion. And I get that there's this whole background that comes into that. And I think for me, although I actually enjoyed the backstory, the flashback part of it, what I felt was that the flashback part of it and learning that history felt like kind of a cop-out for developing Karoo and Akiva, in my opinion. Romantically, like I feel like they were so insta-love, and because she has this backstory, she didn't have to put as much effort into developing their relationship, you know, this current person.
Yeah, but even still, like in the flashback, it was still really insta-lovey.
It was still pretty insta-love. I think it didn't bother me as, I still didn't like it. I would have rather it like been developed properly, but I feel like it didn't bother me as much in the flashback, both for the fact that like I kind of expected it going in this time, and then also because it felt almost more like myth-like as opposed to like present day. And I do kind of agree with how the backstory was just suddenly, it was very jarring.
Yeah.
And how it was done. It was very jarring. I think even with all the information, I think I would have been fine with the entire backstory. I almost wish it was just weaved in like sections a little bit more organically, as opposed to all at once and for super long. You could literally not edit anything out and just break it up and just weave it organically through the story. And I think I would have had an easier time with that. Also,
she did a little bit at the start with a couple of scenes. She did it a little bit, and I was like, "Ooh, tell us more." So it's not like, but then it like,
and then it was like, oh, I didn't want my wish that much.
I think I just don't like when there's like some long flashback about characters that you don't even know, so you don't really care about them. Like, I mean, I know that it's technically, which anyway, we'll get into.
Yeah,
but it's just like, you know, like I just didn't care because I'm like, I don't really know you, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I realized I don't like that in books. Like when
I felt like I cared, but I did reach that point of like, wait, is this still happening? Like, I just wanted it broken up a little bit more so that I got a little bit more present day mixed in there, because it just, again, the format was just very jarring in my opinion.
I can't give my opinion on this until we go into spoilers.
Okay. Well, I feel like we're probably safe to start diving into spoilers now. So if you have not finished reading the book, if you haven't read it and you don't want to be spoiled for the book, then I would recommend leaving now. If you don't care, or if you have read the book, then continue. We'll get into all the good details, bad details, all of the details.
The details.
The details.
Okay, Cassie, do you want to say?
Okay, so again, this is a reread for me. So like I went into this book knowing that I love this story and these characters and stuff. So like the perspective is different, and I wish that I had more like information on my channel or wherever so that I could like really dive deep into what my feelings were the first time. But I don't remember because it was at least a year ago when I read them the first time.
Right.
So this is reread Cassie. So the one I definitely agree that the flashbacks are jarring. The way that what like 2/3, 3/4 of the way through, just suddenly we are thrown into the past and into this other world that we haven't really gotten all of the information on. And 100% it's jarring. However, for me, the way that she wrote the past and the reasons behind why the Karoo and Akiva insta-love is happening felt so like whimsical and magical. And, like, it was just like my mind. I do remember the first time that I read this, my mind was blown that this person, Akiva, has he alludes to this person who he's lost, the loved one that he's watched being tortured. Like there's a couple different quotes in there of Akiva obviously having like lost someone in a bad way, to recognize that it was her. The first time that I read it, it was bamboozling. And so then this time around, this time
I feel
around,
like I saw it coming like a million miles away. Like I saw it coming so quickly the second he said that he lost somebody or whatever. Like I just like, all right, I see what happened here. Like
I didn't know the details. Obviously, I didn't know the details, but I thought that the wishbone had something to do with like a spell had been cast and she looked like someone, or like was hiding the fact that she was a chimera. Obviously, it's not quite like that. We learn later on that it's like her soul's in a different body now. But I figured out pretty early on that it was probably Karoo and Madrigal were probably the same person.
Like this again, like trying to remember the first time around, there was definitely some like how I was trying to figure out how is Karoo and this person connected. Yeah, there was definitely like clear that there's going to be some sort of relationship there, or like matching of some sort. But the first time around, when we finally find out exactly what it is, my mind was not anywhere near, they're the same.
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So then rereading it this time around, you get all of those little moments of like Carew saying that you have more now about the tattoos on his hands, and like she remembers how his scars feel even though she can't even see the scars, and like all of these, I wouldn't say not blatant, but they're just little moments where I'm like, oh my god.
I feel like those are the things that like triggered me to begin with. I'm like,
and that when she could say like she felt like she was supposed to be somewhere else.
Yes.
Or that like she had a sense that she was meant to be doing something or be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like she didn't feel like whole. She didn't feel like herself. Yeah, it was really interesting.
All of that for me was all those were, for this time around, was all the moments of like, oh my god, I cannot wait to get to the moment where we understand that this is also Madrigal. Like I when Madrigal's name is written for the first time on the page, it's like less than 100 pages in, and I forgot that it was so soon. Like I have little hearts next to her name.
Okay.
Ready.
Like, and I feel like to an extent, I definitely agree with you. Like it feels so whimsical, like the flashback, and I was really enjoying it at the start, but then I feel like it did get a little bit prolonged. And I'm going to dive into. Sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to dive into the note I wrote, but so you go first.
Oh yeah, all I was going to say was the way that Laini Taylor wrote this book, she could have written almost that entire story of the past as a novella.
Yeah.
Like it's long enough where it could have been separated. We could have gotten some of that information enough to understand where we are in a novella, and then expand it in a novella. Whereas in this book, it almost I do agree that it almost feels like two different books wrapped up in one when you read the entirety of Daughter of Smoke and Bone, because it feels like a setup of a story, and then it feels like a flashback of the story, and you don't really get. This book is written kind of weird. You don't really get the traditional start, climax, end. You get the start, the flashback of the history of why this is the start, and then it ends.
Yeah.
So I think that's why this book in particular is very has a lot of like dichotomy between if people really love it or not.
Yeah,
and I definitely feel like I appreciate what she was trying to do by playing with how the narrative was structured. I do I just feel like maybe it was something that her writing is absolutely beautiful. Like I will throw that out there. Just the way she describes things, it's still absolutely beautiful. But I just feel like maybe she wasn't as maybe skilled as maybe she would be now if she rewrote it in how to accomplish that sort of differently structured narrative, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the one thing that creeped me. Oh, I'm echoing.
Oh, you're not echoing for me.
It's just a little. It's not bothering me.
Okay. I'll see if I can ignore it. Okay. So I wrote one note in this entire book, and it was in the flashback scene when Akiva sees Madrigal, like comes to Madrigal in that like big festival. And it just made me think so much. It made me think like serious Edward Cullen vibes.
Oh no.
It was like 1,000 things might have stopped me from being here right now, but instead 1,000 things brought me here. Everything lined up. It was easy, as if it were meant, she said, amazed, as if what were meant? You and me. It was just like, okay. So if I extended a great kindness and saved someone, like, or mercy to a stranger, that's cool. That's nice of me. But if they then tracked me down 2 years later and said we were meant to be together, I would be running screaming. Like, he's really attractive. He's great, but you literally don't know each other. And all of a sudden he just pops up and was like, we were meant to be. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, I think because Laini Taylor's writing is so like beautiful, like we've all said, like it kind of distracts you from that.
Yeah,
I feel like if he was not an attractive, like ungodly attractive angel, I feel like everybody would be super skeezed out by him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like he's definitely, what do they call it, like pretty privilege or whatever.
Yeah,
like I feel like it's not that going for him.
Yeah. Like, I get if he was like wanting to find her again so he could thank her, but he was just like, no, we're meant to be together. The stars are aligning.
Yeah, I'd be like.
It's like so neat. It's like to me it was just like, obviously this is like a magical world, and so like when I'm reading fantasy, I don't always read into like, how would this feel if this was real, because there's like souls that don't attach to bodies necessarily and crazy stuff. So like to me it just was like, there is a moment, and the moment created this touch on each other's soul, and that's why they become soulmates, and they were meant for each other, and that's why she couldn't kill him in the first place, even though she should have and would have if it had been any other. You see where I'm going? Like, it just tumbles.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I definitely think that Strange the Dreamer was a little bit insta-lovey, but I didn't feel as opposed to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like the two of them got to know each other so deeply really quickly, which kind of explained it for me. But this one's just like, okay, you saved her. She saved him. But then there wasn't much else.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
definitely feel like if she rewrote this book again, like at the level of her writing skill that she has now, I think she might even be able to retain that insta love from the whole, like, you know, reincarnation thing, and have that be the reason they connect so fast. And I think if she were to rewrite it at skill level now, I think she would be able to pull it off without making us feel like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Like, I was prepared for a reason. Yeah, because when I figured out that it was probably magical, I was like, okay, this is why there's a connection drawing the two of them. This is in the present time, and then going back to see how it happened in the past, I was like, oh, I was expecting a little more, because they just like she saves him,
And
he comes back, and then they have sex a few times.
But to me,
Like, it's obviously rushed over, but I don't know. I just was expecting a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
I want to quickly ask like the audience, how those of you watching, is our audio really bad for you guys? Because the echo is now worse. Still able to like continue talking, but I just want to make sure that everyone who's watching isn't being bothered by it. Because if it is, then I want to try to fix it. So if you guys can let us know in the live chat how what am I trying to say? Oh my God.
Like, for some people it's worse. Like, yes, echoing very bad. Okay. Is it one of us?
Do we all have headphones?
I don't usually have a problem with that, but you know, who knows? Computer has already been causing me problems today, so let me go grab headphones and see if that.
If you can quickly find it, maybe that'll be an easy fix.
Yeah.
Because I'm still hearing it. I know Katrina just put herself on mute, but I'm still hearing it. I just want to make sure.
I saw Red was muting herself though, and I still noticed it, so I'm not sure.
You did? I'll try to mute myself.
I'll try to mute myself.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I know somebody was talking. I just want to make sure people are able to enjoy.
Yeah. How's that for you, Cassie?
Actually, it's gone. It might be Chloe. Oh no.
It went away because I walked away, huh?
Well, Chloe just muted herself.
Is it back now?
Let's see.
A little bit, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is Chloe the echo?
Chloe, try taking your headphones out. Maybe that'll fix it. Like, try unplugging them. Sometimes that'll fix it.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that seems to be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody.
Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure it got fixed. What were we talking about?
Oh, I was saying how, like, I felt like even though Crew and Madrigal I get are the same person, I felt like, to me, like, even though they had like similar like interests, like the blue hair and maybe the head nod, they still didn't feel like the same person to me. So to me, it still felt like insta love between Carew and Akiva.
Yeah.
I also understand that. They do feel very different.
Yeah. I feel like if I was more, he was just like a very stock standard kind of brooding guy.
Yeah,
and I just wasn't really intrigued by his character. I feel like I probably could have excused it a little more if I actually really, really loved his character.
I can't wait for us to talk about the sequel.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'll love the second book more. And the
Can I
as well.
bring something up that, like,
It's going to hurt us. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
are we going to talk about what
Yeah.
frickin' Akiva did?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I told
we don't know if
Katrina-
it's him definitely, but
the only reason I was talking about this, I mentioned this to Katrina, but I was like, I don't want to write him off completely like I ordinarily would of a character who literally kills his love's like entire family. Because I'm sorry, but that is like, for me, that would be like, no, never, ever, ever, ever gonna happen. The only reason I don't write him off completely is because if there's anybody I trust with their writing skills to give one hell of a freaking redemption arc, it's Laini Taylor. And it's like, I feel like there's like a 97% chance that he's not going to be that redeemable, considering how much I don't like him already. And then he went and did that. But if anybody could use that 3% and turn it around, like, I believe in Laini Taylor to do that even with me. So,
Cassie, your expressions are so great.
I can't say anything.
also, out of us, not including Cassie, because she knows one way or the other, out of us, who, like me, believes that Brimstone is in no way dead and had a really badass like backup plan? Because I totally think that.
I'm literally hiding my face.
No, he's such a doubter.
No, I didn't think of that, but I think, yeah, probably.
Yeah, because like he had a backup plan for Peru.
You
He
know,
had
been
a
around
magic or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
I
had
don't
a
want
way.
my face to give anything away, so we need to change the subject.
But yeah, because I didn't think of that either. Then Red, you mentioned that, and I was like, actually, if out of all the people, or not people, not humans, out of every character who could have a backup plan for something like this, it would be Brimstone. Like he'd have a way around it.
And I feel like he would have even more control of like his soul than even Madrigal did without the smoke.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, because he's just done this for so long. And I feel like, even with the others like Issa and stuff, like I feel like he's got his friends' backs,
Yeah.
So if
he
they're
must have
okay,
a
then it's
contingency
easier.
plan. He's got to have something in place.
I'm saying nothing. Can we talk about, okay, let's move. I'm going to change the subject. Can we talk about the end? Where, the whole end, what is this chapter called? It is my favorite chapter of the entire book. When he goes to, Brimstone goes and visits her.
When she was after she's about to be executed, like before she's about to be executed. Sorry. Yes. I love that scene.
Very end. I want to find the name of the one that I'm talking about. Oh, The World Remade. It's chapter 59. It is the best chapter of the entire book, in my opinion. And it's emotional and just...
What page is it? What page do you say?
Page 394, chapter 59, The World Remade. Did I say page 399. Did I say that right?
No, you didn't, but we got that.
Sorry. 399.
I got a different edition.
So this is The World Remade. It's when Madrigal is being held before her execution, and it starts with "I can't save you, Brimstone." Madrigal looked up, and this is when he brings her the food that Yasri always made for her, but she can't eat because she's so stressed. And this is also when he tells her that Chiro is the one that what?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, I just want to make sure. He tells her that Chiro is the one that betrayed her, and then he says something about Chiro being a husk, like a weak person, and that's how
like her soul's weak, right?
Yeah, and that's how she figures out when Brimstone then in the same chapter tells Thiago that he would like Chiro to do the blessing or whatever.
Mhm.
And she figures out that it's so that she can use her body. She essentially kills her in revenge.
Oh, so good. Yeah, because he
So
was
good.
just like, you've got a strong soul. You don't need the smoke to travel.
Yeah.
Like, with
And
the
that's where
will.
Madrigal is all young.
There's
and,
so
you
much
know.
love. So
But
much
I
perfection.
agree, that was a beautiful chapter.
Mhm. It's sad too because you watch. This is the only chapter where you actually watch Madrigal hear Akiva being tortured. She talks about it in other chapters, but that's the only one you actually listen. You actually see her react in her mind, and it's sad.
That chapter got me really excited. And it was like, okay, we're getting to like the really exciting part in the flashback. Hello.
Yes.
It's like I was
And then
waiting
like-
for a moment like that.
The only person I'm worried about like actually being dead is I'm hoping that there's something around this too, but what is it, Kismich? Is that the name of the bird?
Kishmish.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Because Kismich didn't die like close to anything. It died bringing her a message and bringing her the wishbone.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm really hoping that, you know, Brimstone, you know, again, he's taken all over this. So, you know, like I'm hoping that he had a backup plan for Kismich too, knowing that that was a possibility. Especially because what is Kismich going to do in like
Are you guys laughing at me?
I know, we all know you know. But I feel like Kismich, I feel like there almost had to be a plan because once Kismich went through that portal, he has no place in this world. So it was almost like he had to die in his own way, you know?
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get back to the other world. Oh my God, Cassie.
I'm really bad at lying. I can't show you my face because you will read something on my face. So I'm
Okay.
hiding.
Probably. I feel like I'm already like,
I'd like to think
I'm
this is something you're really excited
I'm worried that I'm going to get spoilers from your face.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm worried that you guys are going to get spoilers from my face. So that's why I'm hiding.
I'm just excited about book 2 now. Like, you're making me more excited about the next book because I'm like, oh, I need to know what Cassie knows.
Yeah.
Mm.
I actually
The whole. Okay.
What were you
Lady
gonna say?
Taylor does this. I feel like I said something similar earlier, but like Laini Taylor writes her whole story is one arc. You know how like a lot of times you'll read a trilogy and like book 1 has a very clear beginning, middle, and end, and then book 2 has a very clear beginning, middle, and end, and there's like sure an overarching like general bad guy who we're trying to defeat or something.
Right, but they also, you know, they have their own little.
Yes. No, that's not how Laini Taylor writes. She writes from beginning to end, and here are the 3
one
books.
book,
Like,
literally
no,
one
no.
book across 3 books.
Yes, and it's
So does the second book, I'm curious, does the second book pick up like exactly where the first one leaves off? Like, is that how she handles that, or?
you know, I actually don't remember, and I haven't quite started it yet. So I'm not sure off the top of my head. People in the comments might know the answer to that, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. It's not far in the future. The series does not take place over a long period of time. It's a pretty fast in time series.
Cool. Were you going to say
like
something
Susan.
before, Chloe?
I was going to say, okay, so let's just like clearly state our feelings towards the romance because like I don't actually hate it. Like I do like it. Okay, I just like it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. But I think I could like it more, like if we obviously get more development and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I don't, at this stage, I don't love it, and I'm like resisting loving it because I know that Laini Taylor could really persuade me that it's a good romance, but I just don't love Akiva at the moment. So I'm at this stage, I'm not into it, and I don't want to be into it. But Laini Taylor, you never know.
Red?
I feel like Katrina really just summed up my opinion, honestly, because remember that I did DNF it the first time, and it was because of Akiva, and it was because of the romance. Like, I just struggled with it so bad. I just was not into it. I literally loved everything else, but I just was not into the romance. And honestly, like, I was a little bit more prepared for it going in this time around because, like, I was aware But honestly, like even then, like I remember messaging like the group chat talking, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm struggling. And Cassie's like, push through, just trust me, push through. And I did and it did get better. It did get better-ish. I didn't ever like the romance, and Akiva never grew on me. But the book of itself got better. But I'm kind of with Katrina in the sense that I don't really like the romance right now. I don't like Akiva right now. I trust Laini Taylor for it to get better, kind of like Chloe said. I'm hoping that Laini Taylor's writing is going to make it grow on me. But also I feel resistant because he was killed her entire family, whether it's for real or not. He still did that. Yeah. And I have like some like problems with that, I guess.
And
the first time I read it, I was exactly where Katrina was at the end of book 1. I was so angry because you end finding out that Akiva killed everyone that she loves, and like, well, how are you supposed to ever be able to forgive that? And so at book 1, that's where I stand.
Okay, and what about Susanna?
Oh my God, she's my favorite character.
Yeah, I love her, and I love her.
Like the most precious thing.
Yeah, she's
yeah. I already have a copy of the second book here. I didn't think about it when you were asking the question before about if it picks up right where it ends. And the first chapter is we have Susanna and Mick. And then the second chapter talks about the portal in the gash of the sky. So I think it pretty much starts right after.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know. It's possible that Cassie, I'm like reading through the comments and I see Cassie and I'm like, it is totally possible that Cassie is laughing at me because I'm very, very wrong. But I also remember she acted exactly like that when I predicted at the very beginning of We Were Liars. I told her I could like guess the ending right at the beginning, and I guessed it as a joke, and she acted the exact same way, making me doubt myself.
This is the way I act when I don't want to give anything away. Like it's just my reaction of like I can't respond, so I'm just gonna giggle because that's the only way I know how to respond. So you'll see it in the future when we get to book 2, and I'm sure I'll be doing this creepy smile in my corner again. Because I don't want to make any other face. Like I can't, if I make any other face, it'll actually be a reaction to my thoughts on what I know. So I'm just going to smile creepily.
Sorry, my nose is getting blocked. It's getting hard to talk. Is the novella about Susanna and Mick as well?
Yes.
Yes, I thought so. That makes me
the whole novella is about Susanna and Nick. It follows them at a time. Anyway, can't say that.
Okay.
This is a really random comparison, but did any of you guys ever read the book Paranormalcy by Kirsten White? Did you guys ever read that book or that series at all?
I owned it at one point, but no.
Because I feel like Kaz reminds me so much of a character in that book. It's almost ridiculous. Like, I almost forgot, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that actually what this book is from? Because the two are so alike, and I realize he's a stupid character to be like copied and not saying it's copied, but you know.
For a second.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. They have the same name. I'm sorry that you share the name of the Dick character. I'm sorry.
I know. Why do I have to be the ex-boyfriend?
Also, like at the moment, I like Kaz more than I like Akiva, and I don't even like Kaz. I'm sorry, not you. I love you, but
but I love you.
I wonder if Kaz is going to be like in the next book, because I feel like I thought he was like maybe going to be like some antagonist character because obviously he sucks.
I found him kind of entertaining. Is that weird?
Oh yeah,
no, he definitely is entertaining.
Yeah, but he's
so ridiculous. And I kind of like him being the butt of Crew's jokes.
Yeah. So like, I wonder if we're ever gonna see him again, or if it's just like that was just the show. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about how there's no way Iago is not gonna make a really interesting villain in the following books? He is like, I hate him, which I feel like is why he's gonna make a really good villain. Like in the following books.
Yeah, he does. Well, yeah, he does make a good villain.
Also, his name's Thiago, which to me just equates to Iago and Othello, and they're both super jealous bitches. So
I forgot that was his name for a second, and I thought you said Iago.
like I might just be a coincidence, and it was just a name she picked. But in my head, I'm like, they're both villains. They're both super jealous. They both want things that they don't have, you know, and they ruin everybody else's lives to make up for it.
Exactly.
What was your guys' favorite and least favorite moment?
That's a good question. I don't want to go first.
I'm asking first because I need to think.
Oh, I have to think about it more, but I'm just thinking in terms of like a scene that I really pictured in my head beautifully was when Susanna was doing her performance on the street.
Oh yeah.
I just like in my head that was just such a gorgeous scene. That's not like my favorite scene.
I
I'll have
almost
to think
picked
of it
that
more,
now.
but I just really, really loved it. And like her and Nick inside where they were like making out, and Caru's just like,
I'll leave them to it. That is a really gorgeous scene. That is one of the scenes that like still has stuck with me since reading it the first time. And I actually forgot that it happened in this book. And so when I got to it, I was like, oh, like it's so soon. It's now? Like, what?
yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because when I read it the first time, I did read through that scene, and it was a long time ago that I had read it previously, and I pretty much forgot almost everything else except for like her blue hair, and remember hating the romance, even if I didn't totally remember why. But the only other scene that stuck out to me that I remembered pretty vividly was Susanna's performance. Like, I don't know why, but I think it's because it was so beautifully written that is the one scene that I feel like I really remembered vividly from the first time that I read it.
Yeah. Oh, and then, okay. I have a few small scenes, but it's all under the thread of like Carew does something very satisfying. So when she throws Kaz through the glass window or glass door or whatever it was, when she like makes a comment about, I forgot her name, but like the girl that was like hooking up with Kaz or something, and she makes a comment about the bushy, she makes a comment about the bushy eyebrows. She's like, oh, how do you know? And also when she uses the wish to teach herself how to fly, and then she catches up with the taxi driver.
Nice.
I have a favorite line. Absolutely. My favorite term in the entire thing is inessential penises.
Oh, yes. That was so great.
That was just so great.
I also really love when Susanna shows up after she's yelling at Carew for disappearing for days, and then she shows up and Akiva is there, and she goes, oh no, must mate immediately.
I was just going to say that, yes. It's just so funny.
My favorite moment is probably when Brimstone tells Madrigal during that same chapter that Chiro better never need another body ever again because he has some moray eel teeth he's never thought he'd wanted to use.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a good moment. Favorite part. Basically, anytime Susanna speaks.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like one part that was like, it's such a weird moment to be kind of like heartbreaking, but one that I felt like was really just sad to me was when Madrigal puts so much work into her sister's new body, because to her, like, she loved the way her sister worked because it was so particular to her. That was her. And so for her, it wasn't that she never felt any need to make her prettier or more human, because to her, she was like, that was her sister. That's the face of her sister. And she worked so hard to give her a new body, and then her sister was just so her insecurities made her so mean about it, and Madrigal just seemed so confused and heartbroken, and it was so sad to me.
That was
because
really
she cared so much.
Yeah. And she was like, I wanted you to be as close to like the authentic you as possible, but Chiro was just so, is that her name again? Chiro?
Yeah, she was just
so jealous,
so insecure and jealous.
Yeah. It was sad. That was very sad. Also, someone just commented about the itchy butthole.
The itchy butthole was a great moment.
That was great. Also super satisfying.
I think one of my favorite. This isn't even really a scene. Like, well, it is, but like at the beginning, literally page 8. Just when we're like, I don't know. I just really loved when we like got to know Karou, and then like that she was describing like her sketchbook and like her tattoos and her just interacting with Susanna. Like, I don't know, and just like it's really simple, but for some reason I was just like, I don't know. I just love that, and I felt so inspired.
I wrote the posse on that same page. When they she describes right after one another, Issa, Twiga, and Yazri, and then Brimstone and Kishmish.
Yeah.
And I wrote the posse. Love it. Okay, what about our... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going through the comments and I saw somebody make a reference to Strange the Dreamer, but you know how in BookTube everything is acronyms? I really hate the Strange the Dreamer acronym.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so bad.
It's so
Not related to Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I'm sorry. I was just catching up on the comments in the chat and I just saw that and I'm like, and it's not them because it's literally the acronym and like everybody uses it. But every time I see it, I'm just like, oh dear.
I know.
Speaking
Like,
of
like
Strange the
T or
Dreamer,
something,
though.
you have to put the T in there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Strange the Dreamer, though, without spoilers, there were 2 moments in this book that made me think of Strange the Dreamer. The first is when Susanna and Karou are talking about their butterflies in the stomach and then talking about like how they're of their own entity kind of thing. I don't remember exactly when it happens, but it's early on in the book. And they're saying like,
I think it was when they're at the diner place or whatever.
Yes, yeah. And then the
place.
second time that it happens is during the flashback, Akiva creates a scarf of moths to cover Karou or Madrigal. And I wrote in both of those times, Strange the Dreamer.
That's exactly what I thought too.
That was, I think that was another
that's
time.
familiar.
Yeah, I think there was another quote about something to do with the moon, and I was like, Strange.
Yeah.
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 But it also made me think like, because you read this before you read Strange the Dreamer, right, Cassie?
Yes.
When they started, I don't want to start. Actually, no, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to spoil Strange the Dreamer or Muse of Nightmares. Never mind.
Okay, we can talk about it when we get off of live.
Yeah. I was like, actually,
Because everyone in our live show has read it, I believe.
yes.
Okay, what about our least favorite moments?
The flashback.
The whole thing?
No, I mean, there were definitely some interesting parts, but like, I just like kept like I literally looked to see when we're gonna like see someone else again. Like, see Karou again because and it was like 100 pages. I'm not kidding. I think I actually counted it, and I think it was 100 pages. Like that is 1/4 of the book.
No, I agree. And in terms of like a couple of specifics, like I agree with what you were talking about, Red, earlier, but also just the whole thing with Chiro and that other girl forced Madrigal to wear that super revealing dress, and then she was walking through the crowd and people wouldn't touch her because she was the Oh, that made me really mad.
Mm-hmm.
That made me so uncomfortable.
That's a good time.
That was just, I just really felt for her. I was like, this would be so like humiliating and just everyone looking at you and knowing that you were his or like he'd claimed you. Just,
And the fact that they would do something like put powdered sugar on you meant for him to lick it off. That's just so disgusting to me.
Without like when she's clearly already uncomfortable. Like, how have you not?
I will say though,
friend or sister.
I did kind of like the ball scene though. I did sort of like the ball scene, but
it's a really whimsical moment for sure.
It really was. And again, it's one of when it comes to scenes and the overall scene and description, she just has such a talent. One thing that I did like, and I liked that Akiva just kept changing costumes, which I thought was really funny. But then I was annoyed because she wrote something in there that made me kind of like Akiva just a little bit, and then I felt annoyed for liking him at all.
So there's.
I'm so biased against him at this point. It's just petty.
It's like I'm just like every small thing. I'm really resisting liking him, but that's just me because of like what we know about him at this stage, the things he's done. So obviously things could change, but like I just don't want it to change. I just want to continue hating him because I don't want them to end up together.
I'm just like, it's like I've spent this whole book disliking you. So when you make me like giggle like that, I'm like, how dare you make me smile? God damn you. You're the worst.
Yeah.
One of my least favorite moments is early on, page 22. It's right after, well, okay, so there's this whole scene on page 21 where we talk about how Carew lost her virginity to Kaz, and then he ends up telling Svetla. It's not Svetlana, it's Svetla. Svetlana is from Shameless. I apologize. And so so sheepish and smug, Carew knew he told Svetla, the one she later caught him with, even made a straight-faced comment about capes coming back in fashion, and Kaz colored slightly, looked away, the only indication that he knew he'd done wrong. So that part sucked. But then right after that, Brimstone, in the inscrutable way he had of knowing things, had guessed. And then there's this whole moment where she does, this is the inessential penises line.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of slut-shamey, and I was just like, Brimstone, no.
Yeah. She can have fun if she wants to. It sucks that it was with a dickhead, but she'll learn.
Yeah, you could read it as he more is judging the who and not the when and how and where and why and the but it felt a little meh.
See, it was so funny because like to me, I felt like he was actually really supportive in the sense of like not necessarily shaming her for what she did, but like clearly I don't know that it's like reaffirming her regret necessarily, but so much as like, hey, you're learning from this experience, maybe, it just helps you consider in the future if this is actually what you want,
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. And just helping her think more critically about her situation so that she can make decisions that are good for her.
I think part of the reason why in this particular scene Brimstone bothers me is because he also talks about tattoos and like those are her decision too. Why are you judging her based on her tattoos? And then you're also judging
like my grandma.
Yeah. So like again, like I'm not saying it makes Brimstone a terrible person or anything, but I just was like, come on. You don't need to be like this. Come on. Make me like you a little bit more. There's another scene right after that.
Yeah, and I do kind of partially wonder, I'm like, does that come from just, old-fashioned thinking, or is it because in some way, like, you helped procure this body for her, so you feel some investment in the protection of that body, which doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
Because it's her autonomy.
He says something about how he does say something about Carew, your body is, he basically says, like, your Carew is just a vessel. Your soul, on the other hand, seems to be intact. It's after she gets shot.
But then why do you care about the tattoos? Like,
yeah. So that's exactly, it just is like, what?
Yeah. Does she use a wish for one of the tattoos? Like does she use a wish to put the tattoo on? Yes.
I want to say yes. So I think that what more of his anger comes from is her misuse of wishes, but he doesn't explain anything about why he's mad about her using wishes for inessential reasons.
Say it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's another one of my is when in the magical perspective, when she talks about learning how to make the bodies and how wishes are made and like all the pain and stuff in the magical background stuff, it was so fascinating and creepy and weird. And like,
sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
I do agree with you though. Like just talking about I do love Brimstone altogether, and I think he's altogether fairly good parent. But the thing that gets me is like you get so mad at her for not understanding or not using wishes responsibly, but you don't explain to her that they come from pain for her to be able to have the perspective to respect them. Like you don't give her any information, and then you're mad at her for not understanding.
Sorry, what Penny said, she uses a wish to take away the tattoo of Kaz's name. I was like, yes, that's right. And then he kind of tells her off for that, for misusing the wish. But I'm like, you didn't like the tattoo in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Typical parent, such a hypocrite.
I know.
This is really like completely unrelated to what we're talking about, but I really want to say I love this quote. It's so funny. I think Susanna says it. It would suck so much to have your dog wag its tail when you leave.
Oh,
my god, I love that.
Oh my god.
I love that line.
I love
Chloe, this is a really weird request, but I really want to see your like annotated copy. Like, just flash it at me because it just your annotations always look so pretty and aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just looking through some of my notes for favorite quotes as well. And when she's dragging those big tusks, and some guy's like, "Hey, what you got there?" And she's like, "Musicians who ask questions," because he was like a busker.
Yes. Yeah, I loved like the humor. Like, obviously there wasn't like that's not a huge part of it, but like I loved like the subtle, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the humor is like, I feel like the humor is well threaded throughout the story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like just subtle enough. It could have been more. We definitely could have had more.
I've got another
Maybe
one.
if they made it keep it funny, I would have liked them.
Yeah. Mick says to Susanna, "This morning you hate, let me see, men and cats, wiener dogs," and she's like, "Wiener dog owners. You'd have to have like a lentil for a soul to hate wiener dogs."
Yes.
She's so funny.
Oh no, Susanna hates me. Or she only half hates me because my dog's only half a wiener dog.
I also love when I can't remember who. I think Issa. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Based on the audiobook, Issa.
Okay, Issa. She's like, "I think antlers would suit you, sweet girl, or you'd make a lovely servant." Like,
Yes.
it's just so casual.
I also really love. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I also loved a quote when Karoo was learning about like the war between the angels and the chimera, and Akiva says, she says, "Why are you enemies?" And he's like, "We have always been. The war had been going on for 1,000 years." And she's like, "That's weak. Two races can't have been born enemies, can they? It had to start somewhere."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciated that. It's like these two different races or beings or whatever aren't inherently enemies. It's because they're different. There's actually a cause there.
Yeah, and I also love the quote, "Have you ever asked yourself, do monsters make war or does war make monsters?"
Yeah, that whole scene is one of my favorite parts too. That whole conversation. There's also another conversation that happens with what's his name? Azil, the guy who has Razgut.
I was actually just going to bring him up because I think he's a really interesting character.
I love he has so many good quotes in the book. I'm trying to find it, but go ahead, Red.
No, I just wanted to mention him just because it occurred to me that like we haven't talked about him, and even though he had a small role in the book, I can't say. Oh my God, words are hard. But I feel like he had a small role in the book, but his role was really significant.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like his character was honestly like I feel like fairly complex for the small part that he had. And I sort of appreciated the levels because on one hand, he's like, "Can you please pull out all your teeth for me so I can get better?" But on the other hand, he literally jumps off a cliff to try and protect her identity. That
was sad.
So I just found him a very interesting character.
Where does anybody have it tabbed off the top of their head? That's the scene where he is talking with Karoo. This is also the time where we get the Razgut information. It's that scene that I'm thinking of, I believe.
Chloe, you're the tab queen.
I don't know what comes to that.
It's the end of chapter 8. I was half listening. I was just looking for the chapter where he throws himself off.
Yeah, where's that?
That's page 124. So it's the chapter beforehand when he's talking to Akiva.
Is this?
And yeah, talking about monsters and stuff.
Okay, I think it's the scene.
I have it. It looks like.
Oh, it's the scene right before that. Okay, so in chapter 18, page 117, there's so many good moments in this scene too.
Oh, sorry, I said the wrong chapter number. I'm sorry.
Okay, so this chapter we get I actually really wish that at the very beginning we get the name Karoo, Akiva knew that word. It meant hope in the language of the enemy. And I really wish that we hadn't have gotten that definition, because then right down at the bottom of the page, Razgat supplies, she tastes like nectar and salt, and he's being all creepy. Nectar and salt and apples, pollen and stars and hinges. She tastes like fairy tales, swan maiden at midnight, cream on the tip of a fox's tongue. She tastes like hope. And I wish that that had been the first time we got that connection of Karoo and hope, because it's so good.
Yeah.
So creepy and so good. Like, Razga is gross, but... And then, so Izil has a bunch of different moments in this chapter as well that have great quotes. He says, like, mold on books, grow myths on history. Love that line. Then Izil also says on the next page, 121, it is a condition of monsters that they do not perceive themselves as such. I have that one. Then there's the do monsters make war? Does war make monsters? That's the same chapter.
Yeah.
And then on page 123 is the first time we see the name Madrigal. What would Madrigal think if she could see
I feel like we're really on top of, like, this is the first time this is, or like this is the only time this is mentioned.
The only reason it's like that is because it's a reread. I would not be like that on a first time around. But I'm like, the whole book I'm waiting for Madrigal. So I was waiting for her. That's not normally.
I think Madrigal is an interesting name.
Me too. Yeah, it means music. It hurts.
It means what?
In the book, he says that it means music. Or somebody says that it means music. I want to say it's Akiva.
Kassie, so do you think, based on like what we've said, that we will like the second book more?
I think you will. Because the things that bother you are the things. Let's see. Well, no, they're addressed, is what I was gonna say.
Okay.
You should be angry with Akiva at the end of book 1. Like, that is exactly where you should be. It's clear that he knows he messed up. Like, that's why he almost drops the wishbone into the ocean, because he doesn't want Karoo to know what he has done.
Imagine if you like dropped it into the ocean and then like a couple of years down the track, like something like tries to bite it and breaks it. And then all of a sudden it'd just be like, what the hell?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, yeah, you're supposed to be mad. Somebody else, I think it was Ashley Proctor in the comments early on in our conversation, she said, I think that it's supposed to be abrupt, the memory, because you're supposed to be feeling it like Karoo feels it. I think it was Ashley who said it in the comments earlier. And like, I think it's the same with, we're supposed to follow Karoo through how she feels about Akiva. So like, we don't know this information until the very end of the book, and then he tells her, and like, you end with this shocking fact that he has murdered her entire family.
Yeah. Like, I get that. I just feel like if I liked Akiva more, I wouldn't have been so, like, I would have enjoyed the whole flashback and kind of memory slam a little more.
Yeah. That is a different. I don't know about that part. But I do think that Chloe, you asked if you're gonna like the second one more, and I feel like, I mean, I hope you do.
Fingers crossed.
I was gonna say, I was like, I know we're supposed to be angry with Akiva at the end, but honestly, I've been angry at Akiva since like page 60. So
yeah, like from when I read these the first time, the series like continually gets better. I think, like, as you get more and more invested.
Yeah.
So, is your favorite the third book, Kassie?
I'm trying to decide. It's definitely not the first, that's for sure. I know that that's not my favorite book. But between the second and the third are both really good, honestly. It does, in my mind, from what I remember, it does not have second book syndrome.
Good.
Yeah. Although now I'm going to shove a foot in my mouth because it does. I don't know.
Just in case.
Yeah.
I promise you, we're not holding anything against you. It's not how we personally feel about it.
I hope that by the end of all of this, you guys will be sitting here like this, like me. Smiling.
Sit there for both of the other live shows, just like,
Yeah.
I do really love the Chimera world, though. I just think the Chimera world is just so cool.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting fantasy topic to choose to write about, I guess.
I think it's one of my favorites. Like, it's just,
so cool. I just always amazed by how Laini Taylor like creates these worlds and then describes them. Just the whole thing with the teeth is so interesting, and the thing with the souls and the smoke, it's just so atmospheric. I don't know, reading all those scenes, I just like felt I was in it. It was like dark and
that's the thing. I feel like I forget that when in those scene descriptions like that, I almost forget that I'm reading it because I see it in my head so clearly.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate in this story that all of the magic and otherworldly stuff isn't all pretty. Like, it's not all this like gorgeous, fantastical, like, oh, I wish I was a part of this. Like how you get in at least in a lot of the urban fantasies, you like wish that you could be a part of that world. Like, I don't necessarily wish that I was a part of this world.
Yeah, I don't know that I think it'd be interesting to know chimeras in the capacity that Carew did living in Prague. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that I would not want to live like in the chimera world. That sounds horrible.
Like, not only is it kind of dystopian, essentially, there's like a lot of horrible stuff going on, but like also like the magic of it, and the teeth.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of gross and creepy.
Yeah. Much better balance between like the beauty of it and the pain and disturbing. Which kind of makes it feel more realistic.
I like it a lot.
As a whole world.
I'm sorry, I missed your question.
I didn't ask a question.
Oh, what did you say? I missed what you said.
Oh, I was just saying that it makes it kind of feel a little more realistic in terms of like being a more complex like world in its own.
Yes, I agree.
I don't know if you guys like, I can't remember, it's been a long time, but I remember when I was a kid, like we had these like books or these games or whatever, and you could like switch out like the tops in the skirts or whatever, like creating a person. You know what I mean? And see the different ones. That's kind of how I imagine the chimera getting created with the teeth. Like, oh, no, we're gonna rearrange it. This doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's really fascinating that there's not a lot of description on how they make the teeth necklaces, but she does mention how like it's when she's making Chihiro's new body, I think, where she says something along the lines of like, if she had switched the teeth around, then it would change which was the head and which was
like a bat head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm also very curious how the teeth become a body as well.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that works.
Pain.
I'm curious about it.
Magic.
The answer is magic.
There's some suspension of disbelief because our science-based world just can't handle it.
Oh yes, Penny made a comment about how Carew finds out that Brimstone asked for baby teeth once and only once, and it was like, oh, it makes sense. I thought you were such a creeper for asking for baby teeth before.
Yeah.
Realizing it was for Carew so she could like be born or remade again.
I definitely hearted that part when he says he asked for it once, and she kind of like rolls her eyes at him. But I hearted that. I'm like, I know what that one time was for.
I also like that Laini Taylor said it in Prague too, because I feel like nobody, even though Prague is a beautiful city, I feel like nobody ever writes about Prague. It's always like, London or Paris or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely the first book I've ever read that's set in Prague.
Definitely.
I think it's the only book I've ever read that's set in Prague.
I know I just read The Lies of Locke Lamora is based in
Scotland, right?
No, it's that city that has all the rivers.
In which country?
I want to say Italy, like the one that's like
Venice?
I want to Venice. Yeah, Venice.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
I was thinking Venice, but I was like, just want to make sure there's not a different country?
Oh,
That was
all the
really what I was
canals.
thinking. I mean, it's not set in Venice, but it's based
A fictionalized
on
one.
Venice. Yeah.
Cool.
I literally,
That's cool.
my brain literally went all the way back to Mesopotamia, and I'm like, I know that's not right. I don't know anything about that book, but I know it's not that far back. Because, you know, that's like the one that you learn in like the third grade is like, oh, it's set between the Tigris and Euphrates
Yes.
River.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was not where I was at.
I know what it is, and I knew that's why I didn't say it before, because I knew how wrong it was.
Yeah.
But when I hear like Loch Lamora, it makes me, you know, because Loch is like what is it, Gaelic for lake?
Yeah.
So that's why I figure if it was
yeah.
going to be based off anywhere, it'd be based off like Ireland or Scotland.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh, interesting thinking. Yeah. All right. I think I'm just having a quick look through the comments if there's any other questions or anything else you guys want to talk
I feel
about.
like people in the comments are freaking awesome. Like, this is a really good discussion in the comments.
I know. I love seeing all of the comments that you guys have had.
And I like seeing their different perspectives too.
Definitely.
Because like a lot of times it's like, even though it's like some of the perspectives, I'm like, I don't know that that's how I personally feel about it, but I definitely like where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Daphne brought up. Go ahead. Nope, you're bad. My bad. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, has our rating, like, is it still the same as what we said in the beginning? I think I've settled on the 4. Like 100% 4.
Yeah.
Because I definitely like really did love it.
I think it's still 3.5 for me. I'm still annoyed at Akiba.
I'm still a 5.
I can understand that though. I feel like, you know, if I really love the second and third book and then I reread the first book, it like, yeah, I feel like that happens because like, you know how it goes and then like,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting too because like I'm rereading the Throne of Glass series for the first time. I'm rereading those as well for the Throne of Glass read along that I'm hosting, and I'm rereading Throne of Glass, and whew, that is not a good book anymore, man.
It's not.
The series, I'm excited to get to later in the series, but like, ooh, if I had just read Throne of Glass now and then was trying to continue, I don't know if I would have.
See my problem? I really want to push through because I 100% believe you and I believe Brittany. I really, really do, and I do plan at some point to push through. But you see my problem with that first book, reading it like where we're at now.
It's not that good.
That's so funny.
Daphne brought up a good point. I had it. Daphne Seguin said, I just love how every character is not perfect, or completely bad. And I 100% agree with that sentiment.
I have one exception, maybe.
I feel like Lady Taylor's is perfect for those kind of characters. Well,
I feel like Diago sucks pretty altogether.
She writes a true person.
Yeah, exactly.
For all of her characters, where you can find a little bit of good and a little bit of bad in all of them, and some are more or less on a spectrum.
I feel like Diago pretty much sucks all the way around, though.
He's really far on that spectrum for sure. Like,
yeah,
he's a hard one, but like in general, all of our characters.
If it's on we should just create a scale from like Diago to Zuzana.
Yes,
that's our scale.
That's our scale. Because Zuzana even still has she's not perfect either. And I'm so excited.
But she's pretty freaking close. We're gonna be real. Zuzana's pretty freaking close to the perfect person.
She is. She's really close.
I'm so excited to read the
novella. I feel like even her flaws just make me like her more.
So cute.
More perfect to me.
Did we decide we're reading the novella last?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next book we're going to be reading is Days of Blood and Starlight, and it'll be the second weekend of May, but we haven't decided on a date exactly yet.
And that'll be on my channel, right? I think I have me.
Yes,
it's on your channel. And so the second, for the US, it's the second Friday or Saturday. For us in Australia, it's the second Saturday or Sunday, just with how the time zones work.
So yeah, I'm actually going to pick up. I'm probably going to start reading the second book today.
Same.
Yeah.
got some free time this afternoon. I'm like, ooh, it's coming true.
I still have to buy the second book. I'm going to be buying the book probably Monday or Tuesday. I'll probably buy the book. I don't know when I'm going to start reading it just yet, just because part of me really, really, really wants to start reading it now or when I get it. But I also realize that I only have 2 weeks of classes left. So I'm kind of thinking that I don't want to like ignore my homework because I want to read Days of Blood and Starlight. That's the second one, right? Days of Blood and Starlight.
Yeah.
I'm worried that I'm gonna like get really roped into Days of Blood and Starlight and then like neglect my homework in the last 2 weeks. And that's a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah. I'll probably pick it up. I'm currently reading Throne of Glass. I'm like really early in on it. I'm like less than 100 pages in. When I finish that, I have a book that I need to read because it's an arc, and then I'll pick up Throne of Glass. I mean, Days of Blood and Starlight next.
Yeah.
So 3 books away.
How long is Days of Blood and Starlight? Just in case anybody knows.
It's a little over 500 pages. It's like 513.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm reading it for the Tome Topple Readathon, but within also the Owls Readathon, and I had to make sure.
Gotcha.
Like, I need to read it during the next 2 weeks because I'm planning on reading it for the Tome Topple.
Yes.
I try to make more notes so I don't forget things with our next live show either.
Yeah.
So ready. I'm so
I'm so excited.
ready.
Also, I saw some people talking about your editions, Kaz, and
Yes.
they're out of print. So
They are. I know. I had to go on 8 books, and I paid like they weren't ridiculously expensive or anything, but they were like a little more expensive, especially because this one ended up being like a exclusive edition.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it. I was just like, oh, this is the cheapest one I can find. Fine. But they're like the UK hardcovers that aren't in print anymore.
Yeah, the last time I checked, because I think like a year ago I checked to see how much they were on ebooks, then it was a bit much.
Yeah. I got these, because I bought these like the week after I finished Strange the Dreamer. I was like, oh, the writing's amazing. I love this.
Yeah.
So I got this.
I'm annoyed because I know that my series is not going to match, which is really going to bother me because the thing is, though, is technically I can buy the next one in hardcover, but it's like $30 US, and I don't want to pay $30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, especially when the next one, what is it, of Gods and Monsters or whatever that one is, that one's like $12 or something like that. And I'm just like, why is this middle one $30? Why?
Which editions are you looking at?
I was looking at the hardcover because I was trying to get it to match, and at least when I last looked it up, it was like $30.
This cover?
I don't know, the one, yeah, that one.
The red ones. I think, Katrina, you bought these for me in a box for my birthday.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was you, right?
And this is what I get for not buying them before, but like I didn't know if I was ever going to finish the series because I DNF'd the first ones. Yeah, it literally went up. It's now $34 for a hardcover Days of Blood and Starlight. $34 freaking dollars. But the hardcover for Dreams of God and Monsters is $12.19.
What the hell?
Wow.
Why? I don't understand. So I'm going to be buying it in paperback because it is a hell of a lot cheaper. So, but it just annoys me because I'm just like, I hate my match. Like, it just hurts my soul. Yeah, because the paperback's $9 compared to the $34.
You might be able to find it on Book Outlet. Book Outlet usually has it.
Maybe, but Book Outlet and I don't get along.
Oh.
They've been evil to me. Actually, kind of.
Yeah.
Should we take some last minute questions?
Yeah.
I might just buy it in paperback now, and then if I ever see it like in the future in hardcover, then I might try to pick it up if I like come across it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the moment, I just need it for the read along. So,
What question were you going to say, Chloe?
Oh, I was just going to ask the chat if there's any last minute questions that we can answer.
Lovely. Yes. Oh, I did see one a second ago. Actually, a little while ago. Oh God, what was it? I think it was something along the lines of like, what chimera body would you have?
Oh, yes, I see it. Emily Beth Hall, what kind of chimera body would you want? I
I'd
want
want
wings.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to have owl wings, and I want to have the legs of like, I don't know, something that runs fast.
Ostrich? No, just not.
That looks so funny. Oh, like a wolf or a big cat.
Yeah.
Just something that runs faster than I can, which is not very fast.
Yeah, I'd be happy with any kind of wing.
Yeah, I think wings is the main thing I want.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then I don't even know what else I would say.
The rest human except for my legs.
Yeah.
I forgot all animals ever.
I mean, some nice soft fur somewhere would be cool. I don't know where. That could have been dirty.
Maybe you could have soft
I was just
ears
gonna
with
say the first thing I thought of was like, oh, a nice soft happy trail.
Yeah, something soft. Or yeah, like ears or I would be down for some ears, like to better hear you, my dear. Something like that. Yeah.
Oh.
That would be nice because I feel like I'm that person that's always like, what? What? Like I'm like,
Yeah. Fox tail. Ooh, a tail. I want a tail.
I'd get scared of my own tail, I think.
I feel like having a tail would be so obnoxious for clothes though. Like I like wearing pants.
I would want a cat tail because they help with balance and I get off balance a lot.
I think I'm just scared because like Carden from The Cool Prince, I don't know if you've read that. He has a tail and it always scares me.
Oh my gosh.
I need to read that, actually.
Pardon?
I haven't read it yet. I need to.
Oh,
Me neither, yeah.
I mean, there's this one scene where like he wraps it around someone's leg and it's supposed to be like sexy and I'm like, oh my gosh.
No.
Oh god, that's weird.
And I feel like if I had a tail, it's just one more part of me to get cold.
Ashley said, just cut a hole in your pants. And all I'm thinking of is Jumanji when the little kid turns into a monkey.
Yeah, and then then I'm gonna have to but then my tail is gonna be cold, and then I'm gonna have to worry about getting some kind of weird ass cover for my tail just to keep it warm. And I get it's probably gonna have fur, but I feel like it's not good enough for that freeze super easy. I don't know.
I had a question that
Can I just get like longer human legs? Is that part of my chimera?
just
Can I
get taller?
have legs for slightly longer human legs?
Maybe we can get. Oh, I was gonna say giraffe legs.
Wow, that would be tall.
So I'm not like all torso.
What if the chimera has like a giraffe neck?
Twiga.
Familiar.
I think it's Twiga.
Oh yeah, Twiga.
So weird.
Maybe it'd be really cool to have like, I don't know, like hawk eyes or something so you can like see really well.
Ooh, that would be
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely want wings, but like I don't know what kind of wings I would want. Because I feel like bat wings sound really cool, but then feathered wings sound warmer, so I don't know.
What was I had a question in my mind and I don't remember what it was. I got distracted by the idea of a tail.
Tails are so distracting. That's why I don't want one.
Don't remember.
All right. Well, I think we might wrap it up then.
Yeah.
But so I'm just having another quick look through the comments. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us today. This was a really, really great discussion. And thanks to my lovely co-hosts Chloe, Cassie, and Red for joining me on my channel to discuss Daughter of Smoke and Bone. And everyone, don't forget, we're going to be reading Days of Blood and Starlight and then talking about it in about a month's time on Red's channel.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited.
Is everybody linked down below?
Yes, I've got all of the host links in the description. I've also got a link to the Twitter for the Dosab Readalong. It's not Dosab Readalong. it's dosab.
Joseph Readalong.
Well, it was
I've
really
had
weird because
multiple people say it.
yeah, I've had it as well. But when I actually set up the Twitter, I typed out dosab Readalong, but it shortened it to dosab bread. And I was like, that's not what I wanted. And I eventually got it to fix itself. But I was like, oh, but yeah, make sure you follow our Twitter for any future announcements for all the live shows when the times are going to be. And if any of us get around to hosting some sprints, I might try and host some sprints for this later on this afternoon. Get some of that read, which is very exciting. But yeah, follow us there and follow all my other lovely co-hosts. Links in the description below. A dose of bread. I'm down for carbs. Bread is good. Bread is good.
I'm hungry.
It's fine. We'll finish now. You can go have lunch. All right. Yes. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.